It's official. What we witnessed on September 8th, 2025 wasn't just another WWE comeback story. This was a nuclear-level moment that has completely rewritten the future of professional wrestling. When Roman Reigns limped into Monday Night Raw on a walking stick, defying doctors' orders and his own broken body, he didn't just return to television, he declared war on an empire that thought they had buried him for good. Nobody knew what to make of it when that familiar battle cry echoed through the Chicago crowd. The tribal chief was supposed to be finished, done, relegated to hospital beds and retirement rumors after what happened at Clash in Paris. But there he stood, ribs taped, eyes blazing, facing down the Vision, a faction that had systematically dismantled everything he built. This isn't just about wrestling anymore. We're talking about a devastating power struggle that's tearing WWE apart from the inside out. Sources close to the situation are calling this the most unprecedented moment in modern wrestling history. Because when a man who's carried an entire company on his back for nearly a decade gets brutally destroyed, only to rise again like some kind of wounded warrior, you know the stakes have never been higher. The question everyone's asking: can Roman Reigns survive another war with broken ribs, or is this truly his final stand? Let's rewind a bit, because what led to this moment is darker than anyone expected. Just 1 week earlier at Clash in Paris, Roman Reigns was supposed to have his night of redemption. The narrative was simple: defeat Bronson Reed, silence Paul Heyman's betrayal, and remind the world why he calls himself the head of the table. For 22 brutal minutes, that's exactly what he did. The match itself was a catastrophic car crash spectacle that had fans on the edge of their seats. Reed's raw power versus Roman's veteran instincts created the kind of magic that wrestling fans live for. Every slam echoed through the Accor Hotel's arena like thunder. Reed nearly ended it with his Samoan drop, but Roman countered with a Superman punch that shook the building. At the 18-minute mark, fans thought it was over when Reed climbed the ropes for the tsunami. But Roman rolled out, caught him with a spear that could be heard in the cheap seats, and locked in the guillotine choke. When Roman tossed his stolen sneakers into the Paris crowd, the roar was deafening. He had survived, he had won. But in wrestling, survival is temporary. Because what followed wasn't just a beatdown, it was a nuclear-level message that would change everything. Bron Breakker appeared from the crowd like a predator stalking wounded prey. His spear through the announce table folded Roman in half like a broken toy. Reed's 3 consecutive tsunami splashes weren't just finishers. They were a demolition job designed to end careers. And Paul Heyman, standing over Roman's broken body, laughed like a man who had orchestrated the downfall of his greatest creation. The medical update that followed crushed fans even further. Fractured ribs, internal bruising, possible retirement. Social media trended #thankyou. Roman as if it was the end of an era. Wrestling journalists were already writing obituaries for the tribal chief's career. But here's what nobody understood at the time. Roman Reigns has never been about endings. He's about rewriting the story when everyone else thinks the book is closed. And what happened on Raw September 8th proved that some warriors don't know how to stay down, even when their own bodies are screaming at them to quit. But here's where it gets even wilder, and this is where sources close to WWE's inner circle started whispering about something unprecedented happening behind the scenes. On Raw, September 8th, Seth Rollins strutted out in his Vision colors, flanked by Becky Lynch, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and of course, Paul Heyman. Together, they looked unstoppable. Together, they looked inevitable. The faction that had systematically destroyed Roman's empire was ready to claim their throne. Seth grabbed the mic first with that smug confidence that makes your skin crawl. Roman Reigns is finished, he declared. He couldn't handle the future. He couldn't handle the vision. And when you can't handle the vision, you get left behind. Becky followed, taking a shot at the Bloodline legacy. The head of the table, more like the man who couldn't even keep the seat warm. Breakker and Reed stood silent but imposing, symbols of raw violence that had already proven their point in Paris. Heyman, smug as ever, declared that what we saw wasn't an accident, but a prophecy fulfilled. Then came the nuclear moment. Roman's music hit. The Chicago crowd erupted like a volcano. No one expected it. The camera zoomed to the entrance ramp with the kind of intensity usually reserved for WrestleMania moments. And there he was, limping, taped up, walking stick in hand. But his glare said everything. This war wasn't finished. Insiders claim that backstage, WWE officials were in complete panic mode. Roman wasn't supposed to be cleared for any physical activity. Medical staff had explicitly told him to stay home for at least another month. But sources familiar with the situation say Roman made it clear. He was showing up whether WWE approved it or not. You think you broke me? Roman's voice cut through the arena like a blade. You think Paris was the end? I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And that means I'm still the head of the table. You don't decide when my story ends. I do. He pointed that walking stick towards Seth Rollins like a weapon. At WrestlePalooza, I end you. I end your vision. I end your lies. And I remind the world why my bloodline still runs this place. But that's not even the most shocking part. What happened next completely changed the trajectory of WWE's future. What followed was a moment that had wrestling insiders calling it the most explosive return in WWE history. Because Roman didn't come alone. The music of Jey Uso hit like lightning. Then Sami Zayn's theme echoed through the arena. The Bloodline heartbeat was returning, and sources close to the wrestlers say this reunion had been planned in secret for weeks. Jey Uso slid into the ring with fire in his eyes, locked on Rollins and Breakker like a man with unfinished business. Sami Zayn grabbed a chair, swinging wildly to force the vision back. Roman stood tall, or as tall as his broken body would allow, surrounded by the brothers who had once carried him through wars. Here's what makes this absolutely devastating. According to people familiar with WWE's backstage dynamics, this wasn't just a feel-good reunion. This was a calculated strike designed to shift the entire power structure of the company. Word on the street is that Roman had been working behind the scenes during his recovery, making calls, rebuilding bridges, and preparing for this exact moment. One insider claimed Roman knew the vision thought they had won. He let them believe it while he was putting the pieces back together. The crowd was electric. It felt like 2021 all over again when the Bloodline stood untouchable. Except this time they weren't untouchable, they were vulnerable. And that vulnerability made the moment even more powerful. But sources say the vision wasn't backing down. From that night forward, WWE leaned into the chaos with an intensity that had fans glued to their screens. Breakker and Reed ambushed Jey Uso backstage in what witnesses described as a brutal assault. Becky Lynch jumped Sami Zayn mid-interview, leaving him bloodied and unconscious. Seth taunted Roman about needing a stick to walk, while Heyman whispered promises of Roman's permanent downfall. If you're loving this explosive drama and want to see more content like this, smash that hype button right now. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes wrestling content that the mainstream media won't give you. The real stories, the real drama, the real stakes. Your hype helps us bring you more exclusive content that goes deeper than anyone else dares to go. People familiar with WWE's creative process say the company has never invested this heavily in a storyline's emotional stakes. This wasn't just entertainment. This was war. This isn't just about Roman Reigns anymore. What we're witnessing is a seismic shift that's reshaping the entire landscape of professional wrestling, and industry insiders are calling it the most significant power struggle in WWE's modern era. Sources close to WWE's executive team reveal that this storyline has become the company's highest priority, with creative meetings happening daily and storyline adjustments being made in real time based on fan reactions. The investment is unprecedented. We're talking about a narrative that's consuming WWE's entire creative bandwidth, but here's where it gets even more explosive. The ripple effects are extending far beyond WWE's walls. Wrestling journalists are reporting that other promotions are watching this storyline closely, trying to understand how WWE is generating this level of authentic emotional investment from fans. One industry veteran told sources, "This feels different. This feels real in a way that wrestling hasn't felt real in years." The cultural impact is undeniable. Social media engagement around WWE content has skyrocketed since Roman's return. Hashtags like Tribal Chief and Bloodline Vision are trending globally. Fan-made content is exploding across platforms, with amateur analysts breaking down every promo, every gesture, every hint of what's coming next. Wrestling podcasters are dedicating entire episodes to analyzing the psychology behind Roman's comeback. Sports commentators who usually ignore wrestling are suddenly paying attention. The mainstream media is taking notice of a storyline that transcends typical wrestling entertainment. But the most devastating revelation comes from sources familiar with WWE's long-term planning. This storyline is reportedly designed to determine the company's direction for the next 5 years. The outcome at WrestlePalooza isn't just about who wins a match, it's about which vision of WWE's future will dominate. Industry insiders claim that Roman's broken but defiant return represents WWE's old guard, the era of larger-than-life characters who carried the company through sheer force of personality. The vision, meanwhile, represents a new generation that believes in collective power over individual dominance. One wrestling executive, speaking on condition of anonymity, said, This isn't just a storyline. This is WWE asking its audience what kind of company they want to be. Do they want the traditional superhero narrative, or are they ready for something completely different? The answer to that question will determine not just Roman's legacy, but the entire trajectory of professional wrestling's biggest stage. So here we are, standing on the precipice of what could be the most catastrophic showdown in WWE history. WrestlePalooza 2025 isn't just another pay-per-view, it's the war that will decide WWE's soul. The questions haunting every wrestling fan are getting more intense by the day. Can Roman Reigns survive another war with broken ribs? Will Jey Uso and Sami Zayn be enough to hold off the Vision's numbers game? Is Paul Heyman playing a longer game with betrayal still to come? Or is this truly the moment Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed seize the throne? Sources close to the situation say we haven't seen the last of the surprises. Word on the street is that explosive revelations are still coming, with potential returns and betrayals that could completely flip the script before WrestlePalooza arrives. The image of Roman Reigns walking into Raw on a stick, broken but unbowed, is now burned into WWE history. It wasn't about dominance or invincibility, it was about pure defiance. The head of the table isn't ready to leave his seat. Not yet. Not without the fight of his life. This war is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what happens next.